Have you ever had that moment when the tax deadline is approaching? You look at the amount you may owe, and you can feel the pressure building almost instantly? It's not just about the number itself, but the thoughts that follow. If I can't pay this right now, will I have any legal responsibility? Is this going to turn into something serious? For many people, the moment they hear tax debt, their mind jumps straight to the worst case scenario, and honestly, that reaction is completely understandable. But in reality, for the vast majority of taxpayers, simply not being able to pay taxes does not automatically lead to criminal consequences. Situations that involve real legal risk usually look very different. Things like intentionally hiding income, submitting false information, or repeatedly failing to file altogether. If what you're dealing with is a cash flow issue or a temporary inability to pay, that is fundamentally different from tax evasion. That said, there is something important that often gets underestimated. Just because it doesn't usually turn into a criminal issue doesn't mean it's something you can ignore. Tax problems rarely explode all at once. Instead, they build gradually over time, and that process is almost always one-directional. Penalties increase, interest compounds, and the total balance becomes heavier month by month. If left unaddressed long enough, it can start affecting your financial life more broadly, including collection actions like levies or wage garnishments. So the real question is not will this become a problem, but rather when do you choose to deal with it? From what I've seen in practice, the biggest difference in outcomes is not how much someone owes, but whether they take action early. The moment you start communicating and taking steps, you move out of a passive position. At the end of the day, the IRS's primary goal is to collect the tax, not to punish someone who is willing to cooperate. There is also a key concept that many people overlook. In the tax system, filing and paying are two completely different obligations, and the consequences are very different. Some people think that if they can't afford to pay, they might as well not file yet. But that decision often makes the situation significantly worse. The penalty for not filing is typically 5% per month, up to 25%, while the penalty for not paying is usually only 0.5% per month. In other words, not filing is far more costly than filing and paying later. So even if you cannot pay anything right now, you should still file your return. Once you file, you open up options. You can request a payment plan, apply for extensions, and in some cases even request penalty relief. But if you don't file at all, many of those options are effectively closed. If you've already missed the deadline, the approach is still straightforward, and the sooner you act, the better. First, get the return filed as soon as possible. Second, pay what you can, even if it's only a portion. There's no need to wait until you have the full amount. Third, if you have a history of compliance, you may qualify for a first-time penalty abatement, which can be very helpful in practice. If you've started receiving notices from the IRS, it's important to take them seriously. The issue is not receiving the letter, it's ignoring it. Each notice is essentially an opportunity to step in before the situation escalates further. At the same time, I do want to mention that at this stage, you may come across services that promise dramatic tax reductions, sometimes claiming they can eliminate a large percentage of what you owe. While that may sound appealing, Programs like an Offering Compromise have strict eligibility requirements, require full financial disclosure, and are not easy to qualify for. They are designed for very specific situations, not as a general solution. So, if you truly cannot pay your taxes right now, what are your realistic options? There are more than most people expect. If it's a short-term issue, you may qualify for up to 180 days of additional time. If you're evaluating financing options and the cost of borrowing is lower than the penalties and interest, using credit strategically can sometimes make sense. And if this is a longer-term financial strain, you can apply for an installment agreement to spread the balance into manageable monthly payments while avoiding more serious consequences. At its core, resolving a tax issue is not complicated. It's a process. You start by understanding what you owe, verify whether the penalties are accurate, explore any available relief, and then put together a realistic payment plan that you can actually follow. And just as importantly, you adjust your tax strategy going forward so you don't find yourself in the same situation again. If you are in this position right now, there is no need to feel overwhelmed or avoid the situation. Many people go through this at some point, and what ultimately shapes the outcome is not what has already happened, but whether you choose to address it now. If you found this helpful, feel free to like or save this video and follow for more practical tax insights.